Welcome to Sleepy Time Stories. Hey, dear friends, let's continue with the fourth part of this story. If you haven't listened to the previous parts yet, visit my channel and listen to it first for the complete experience. Now, get comfortable, relax, and enjoy the story. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Let the outside world slowly fade away. Let your breathing become calm and easy, and let your body sink deeply into wherever you're resting. Tonight, we're going to travel far, far back in time together, to a place in a life that you might think you already understand. But I want you to open your mind, because everything you think you know is about to gently shift and change. You probably imagine, like most people do, that ancient women live quiet, hidden, shadowed lives, always under someone else's control. You picture the Greek wife, locked away in the women's quarters in the Athenian house, never allowed to step outside without a male escort walking beside her. You think of the Roman woman, unable to sign even a simple contract without her husband's explicit permission, her legal identity swallowed by his. You see the medieval bride, her property, her land, her possessions, becoming her husband's the very moment they spoke their vows, as if she herself had vanished. For 3,000 long years, across so many civilizations, that was the story of women in most of the world. And so, by Hollywood's simple, flawed, primitive logic, you assume that the women of ancient Egypt, a civilization older than all those, more ancient, more distant, must have had things even harder, must have been even more controlled. But that assumption, my dear friend, is where you will be completely wrong. More wrong than you can possibly imagine right now. Let me take you by the hand and bring you to the year 1250 BC. Close your eyes if you like, and picture this. A woman in Egypt at that time could own land entirely in her own name, with no man's name attached to hers on the deed. She could run a business, any business she chose, from a textile workshop to a trading operation to a bakery. She could take someone to court, and she could be taken to court herself, standing before a judge as a full person under the law. She could serve as a witness in a legal proceeding, her spoken word carrying the exact same weight as a man's, no more and no less. She could decide to end her marriage on her own initiative, without needing anyone's approval, without having to prove abuse or abandonment, simply because she wanted to leave. And when she left, she would walk away with exactly half of everything the couple had built together during their years as husband and wife. She could adopt children who were not born to her, bringing them into her home and her heart as her own. She could free slaves, granting them their liberty with a word. She could write a will, a legal document that would be honored after her death, distributing her property exactly as she wished, in legal terms, in practical terms, in the real, lived terms of daily existence. The women of Egypt in 1250 BC possessed more rights than European women would finally, painfully regain in the early 1900s. Let that sink in for a moment. 3,000 years later, across 3,000 years of history, women were still fighting, marching, protesting, dying, to regain freedoms that Egyptian women once accepted as simply normal, as obvious, as the natural way the world worked. Today, on day 4 of our 7-day journey through ancient Egypt, you are going to become one of those women. You're going to live her life, breathe her air, walk her streets, and feel what it truly meant to be a woman in that vanished world. This is the 4th part of our series, my dear friend. On day 1, you woke as a farmer, your hands in the soil, your back bent over the grain. On day 2, you were a builder of tombs, carving eternal houses for the dead into the living rock of the cliffs. On day 3, you serve as a priest at the great temple of Karnak, surrounded by incense and chanting and the presence of the gods. But today, everything changes. Today, you open your eyes in a modest, whitewashed house near the busy docks of Thebes, a city that the people of that time called Wazit, the city of the scepter. And you have a very, very long list of things to do before the sun goes down. Using artificial intelligence trained on real archaeological evidence, on surviving papyri, on tomb paintings, on the bones and artifacts left behind by real people, we have reconstructed what 7 days in ancient Egypt truly, authentically looked like. Today, you are the woman who runs the business. Today, you are the one in charge. So let's step back together, slowly, gently, and let the centuries fall away like layers of sleep. Let's go back 3,275 years. Dawn arrives softly through a small, high window set into the thick, whitewashed mud brick wall. The light is pale and golden, touching your face like a gentle hand. You wake slowly, peacefully, lying on a real bed low to the ground, with a woven cord mattress strung tightly across a simple wooden frame. This mattress is made of flax cords, knotted and stretched to hold your weight just right. This is far more comfortable than the thin reed mat the farmer slept on, the one that left impressions in her back every morning. But it is less luxurious than the carved wooden bed the priest enjoyed, the one inlaid with ivory and ebony. You live somewhere right in the middle of the social ladder of Thebes in 1250 BC. You are not poor, not even close to poor. You are not rich, not draped in gold and fine linen. You are stable. You are secure. Your house has 3 rooms, a main living space, a sleeping chamber, and a small storeroom for food and goods. The walls are painted white, cool and clean, reflecting the fierce Egyptian sun away from your home. The floors are packed earth, but they are swept twice every single day without fail, so smooth and hard that they almost feel like stone. In a small niche beside the front door, carved into the mud brick, there is a little statue of the goddess Tauret. She stands on her thick hippopotamus legs, her round belly protruding, her breasts full, her arms resting at her sides. She is the goddess of childbirth, of pregnancy, of mothers and children. She is a protector of women in their most vulnerable moments. Every morning, as you pass by, you reach out and touch her rounded belly with your fingertips. You do this without thinking, without pausing, without any conscious decision. The movement is older than your memory. Your mother did the same thing every morning of her life. Her mother did it before her. That small gesture, that tiny, intimate connection between woman and goddess, has been passed down through generation after generation, connecting you to women you never met, but who live on in your hands, in your fingers, in your quiet, unspoken prayers. You are 5 months pregnant, my dear friend. This is your 4th pregnancy. Your first child, a little girl with dark hair and curious eyes, died when she was only 2 years old. She was taken by a fever that no one in your neighborhood could explain or cure. One day she was playing in the courtyard. The next day she was burning up, and a few days after that, she was gone. Your second child is a boy named Carr. He is now 7 years old, healthy and curious, always asking questions, always wanting to know how things work and why the sun moves and where the stars go in the daytime. He has his father's calm temperament and your sharp, watching eyes. Your third child was another girl, born too still, too silent, the soft cord wrapped around her tiny neck. The midwife, an old woman named Epi who has delivered hundreds of babies, said there was nothing anyone could have done, that these things happen, that the gods take some children back before they have even truly arrived. But you have always wondered, late at night, when sleep won't come and the house is utterly silent, whether something more might have been possible, whether you could have changed positions or prayed harder or done something different. You will not learn until much later whether this 4th baby, this child moving inside you right now, will survive to draw breath and cry and grow. The infant mortality rate in 1250 BC Egypt is roughly 30% in the first year of life. That means nearly 1 in 3 babies born alive will die before their first birthday. Another 20% of children will die before they reach the age of 5, taken by disease, by accident, by the simple, brutal fragility of young bodies. Half of all children born in this world do not live to become adults. Half. Modern paleopathologists, scientists who study ancient bones, have calculated these heartbreaking numbers from examining the skeletal remains of thousands of Egyptian children. But you, the mother, the woman lying in this bed at dawn, you knew it long before any scientists. You knew it as a daily, constant, unspeakable fact that lives in the back of your throat and the pit of your stomach. You think about this often, too often perhaps, but you also force yourself not to think about it too much, because if you thought about it all the time, you would never get out of bed. You touch Tauret's cool stone belly. You whisper a small, quiet, desperate prayer to a goddess who may or may not be listening. And then you go on with your day, because that is what women have always done, what they will always do, carrying grief and hope in the same heart, at the same time, somehow still moving forward. You eat breakfast in the courtyard, sitting on a low stool in the fresh morning air. Bread, still slightly warm from the clay oven. Fresh figs from the tree that grows just outside your door, picked yesterday when the sun was still high and hot. Their pink interior is sweet and soft. A small cup of milk from the goat that lives in the courtyard alongside the chickens, all of them scratching and clucking and snuffling about in the dust. A piece of soft, creamy cheese that you made yourself 3 days ago, pressing it with stones, salting it with your own hands, wrapping it in clean linen that aged just slightly. The cheese is good. Your cheese, in fact, is better than your mother's cheese ever was. And you take a small, quiet, private satisfaction in this small, simple victory over the past. Your son Carr is already awake, already helping the housekeeper grind emmer wheat into flour on a flat saddle corn in the corner of the courtyard. He is using a smaller stone, specially made for him, child size, which your husband had commissioned from a stoneworker last year as a birthday gift. Carr is enthusiastic, so full of bouncing, buzzing energy, but he is not efficient. He grinds too fast, scattering half-ground grain across the stone, missing patches entirely. The housekeeper's name is Hennet. She is a woman in her late 20s with tired eyes and strong hands. She watches Carr with the patient, gentle, knowing indulgence of a woman who has been doing this work longer than Carr has been alive, and who knows perfectly well that the flour he produces will have to be sifted all over again before it gets anywhere near an actual loaf of bread. Hennet is not a slave. She is not property. She is not owned by anyone. She is a paid worker, a free woman who chooses to be here. She lives in your house and eats at your table alongside your family, sharing your bread and your beer. She comes from a poorer family in another part of the city, and the small but reliable income she earns here goes directly to her widowed mother, who lives alone and cannot work anymore. You know Hennet's family well. You attended her wedding 3 years ago to a kind stoneworker named Painemon. You remember the flowers in her hair, the way she laughed that day, the hope in her young face. You also attended the funeral of her infant son 6 months after that, a tiny coffin of pain it would carry by men who walked in silence. You share a complicated, asymmetrical, deeply real relationship with this woman, and the modern English word employer does not even begin to capture what exists between you. She is your employee, yes, but she is also almost a friend, almost a sister, almost a part of your family, and yet not quite. The boundaries are soft and shifting, like the edges of the Nile in flood season. Mid-morning comes, and you walk to the market. The market in Thebes is down by the docks, a sprawling, chaotic, glorious maze of open stalls, woven reed awnings, rough wooden tables, and people everywhere, buying and selling and talking and laughing and arguing. It stretches along the eastern bank of the Nile, just south of where the great avenue of sphinxes begins its long, majestic, processional run toward the Temple of Luxor. The avenue is lined with hundreds of ram-headed sphinxes, each one carved from stone, each one watching over the path of the gods. The market is open 6 days a week. The seventh day, which the Egyptians call the day of the festival, changes depending on which god the city is honoring in that particular month. Sometimes it's Ammonius, sometimes it's Mut, sometimes it's Khonsu. Today is not a festival day. Today is just an ordinary day, and the market is absolutely full of life. There are no shops in the modern sense, no glass windows, no cash registers, no neon signs. There are no prices in the modern sense, no little tags hanging from strings. There is, in fact, no money at all, not the kind you're used to anyway. The Egyptians in 1250 BC have not yet invented coin currency. They will not invent it for another 700 years. The first true coins, small lumps of electrum stamped with designs, will appear in Lydia, in modern-day Turkey, around 600 BC, and they will not reach Egypt until even later than that. Instead, every single transaction is done by barter, by trading one thing for another, with a notional, mental unit of value called the debin. A debin is a weight of copper, roughly 90 grams, about the weight of a small apple. Everyone knows what a debin is worth in their head. Everyone calculates automatically, quickly, without thinking. A loaf of bread is worth 1 senu, which is 1/10 of a debin. A small fish, fresh in the river, is worth 2 senu. A live goat, bleeding and struggling, is worth 3 debin. A cheap wooden funeral mask, painted with yellow gold leaf to look like the face of the dead, is worth 8 debin. A bronze mirror, polished so bright you can see your own eyes in it, is worth 50 deben. A skilled carpenter's daily wage is roughly 2 deben. A donkey, stubborn and strong, is worth 30. You walk through the market with a woven basket balanced on your hip, swaying slightly with your pregnant belly. You are buying ingredients for tonight's dinner. Your husband returned yesterday from a long trading journey up the river, and you want to make something special, something memorable, to welcome him home properly, to celebrate his safe return. You buy a live goose from a poultry seller who has known your family for 15 years. He is a short, round man with missing teeth and kind eyes. You will slaughter the goose yourself later, at home in the courtyard, as your mother taught you, as her mother taught her. The seller weighs the bird in front of you on a small bronze balance, humming a tuneless song under his breath. He announces a price of 4 senu. You counter with 3. He looks offended, his eyebrows shooting up, his mouth pursing in theatrical outrage that fools neither of you for a single second. You have played this game 100 times with this man. He expects it. He enjoys it. You settle on 3.5 senu. You hand him a small bronze ring, which is a common low-denomination form of small change in this barter economy, a kind of proto-coin that everyone accepts, and a piece of finely woven linen that you cut from a larger boat at home this morning before you left. He examines the linen closely, holding it up to the light, running his thumb across the weave, nodding slowly to himself. Then he accepts it with a grunt of satisfaction. The transaction is complete. 2 people who understand each other perfectly, who have done business for years, who trust each other without needing to say so. You buy fresh herbs next, bunches of coriander, dill, parsley. Their bright, green smells rising up to greet you like old friends. You buy 3 clay jars of beer, each of a different strength, sealed with mud and straw. The weak kind for the children, pale and thin. The medium strength for daily drinking, amber and smooth. And the strong, dark, almost black kind for tonight's celebration, thick as syrup, potent as medicine. You buy honey from a beekeeper who has traveled down from a village 2 days upriver, his hand still swollen from old stings. He will stay here for only 1 more day before he packs up his heavy clay pots and goes back to his bees and his quiet life. You buy a tiny, precious amount of cinnamon, which has traveled an unimaginable distance, all the way from somewhere east of Mesopotamia, possibly brought by ship along the Red Sea trade routes, possibly from the mysterious, legendary land of Punt, a place of incense and myrrh and strange animals. This cinnamon is wildly, almost absurdly expensive. You trade 3 full lengths of fine, bleached linen for just a pinch of it, a pinch wrapped carefully in a small papyrus packet, tied with a bit of red string. It smells like another world, like forests you will never see and mountains you will never climb. But you are not only here to buy food for dinner, you are also here to do business. 2 of your husband's clients are at the market today, and you speak to both of them in turn, calmly, directly, woman to man or woman to woman. It makes no difference here, in this time, in this place. The first is a man named Kamit, who runs a small papyrus trading operation from a stall near the water. He has been buying papyrus rolls from your husband for 4 years now. A steady, reliable, profitable arrangement for everyone involved. He owes your family 18 deben for a load of papyrus delivered last month. High-quality sheets made from the finest reeds. You remind him politely, your voice even and friendly, without accusation. He laughs, a warm, rumbling sound from deep in his chest, and pays you 4 deben on the spot, handing over a small piece of copper sheet, carefully weighed on the merchant's balance, along with sincere promise to deliver the rest before the week is out. You make a small, precise mark on a wooden tablet you always carry with you, a stylus tucked behind your ear. You will record properly later, in ink, in your husband's ledger, the papyrus book where all the accounts live. You have been keeping his books for 9 years now, ever since you realized early in your marriage that numbers came easily to you and painfully to him. You have never made a mistake. Everyone in the market knows this. Your reputation for accuracy and honesty precedes you like a herald. The second client is a woman. Yes, a woman. Just like you, just like Hennet, just like the beekeeper's wife and the poultry seller's daughter. Her name is Kuya, and she runs a small but growing textile workshop in the city, a real, registered business with 7 employees, all women, all work in the looms in a sunny, sheltered courtyard near the eastern wall of Thebes. She has been buying dyed wool from your husband for 2 years now. Will color with madder and indigo and saffron. She does not owe you any money today. Instead, she wants to know whether your husband can source a particular shade of red, a deep, rich, almost bloody color that the Egyptians call jezeret, which is derived from a tiny desert insect found only near the Sinai Peninsula, crushed and ground into a powder more valuable than gold. She wants to know whether he can have it ready for her by the end of next month, in time for a large commission she has received from a wealthy family near the temple. You make another careful, precise note on your wooden tablet, your stylus scratching softly. You will discuss it with your husband tonight, over dinner, after the goose has been eaten and the strong beer has been drunk. You and Kuya chat for a few more minutes. Standing together in the warm sunshine, two women talking about their work. She asks about your pregnancy, places her hand gently on your belly for a moment, smiles at the movement she feels there. You ask about her workshop, about a new loom she was having built, about a difficult customer who had been slow to pay. You talk about the new tax assessor who's been giving all the small businesses trouble lately, a thin, pinch-faced man with new rules and careful inspections and a hunger for bribes. You like Kuya. She likes you. In another civilization, in another century, this simple conversation would be remarkable, would be written about, would be held up as an exception to the rule. Two women discussing business as equals, as partners, as people who matter in the economic life of their city. But here in 1250 BC, it is just Tuesday. It is just midday. It is just the ordinary, unremarkable rhythm of a normal life. You go home and eat a simple lunch in the cool shade of your courtyard. Bread still soft from the morning, smeared with the creamy cheese you made yourself. The sweet dates you bought from an old woman at the market who grows them in her own small grove. A small cup of the medium-strength beer, not too strong, not too weak, just right for the middle of the day. The afternoon stretches out before you, long and golden and full of small, quiet tasks. You spend it on laundry, soaking the linen in water and pounding it clean on a flat stone by the well. You spend it on weaving at your own small loom, a simple rectangle which strung with flax thread, your fingers moving in a rhythm older than history. You spend it supervising the housekeeper Hennet as she prepares dough for tomorrow's bread, shaping it into round, flat loaves on a clay board. You spend it sitting with your son during his lessons, watching him learn, watching his small brow furrow with concentration. Car is being taught by a tutor today, a man who comes to your house 3 times a week without fail. The tutor is a junior scribe from the great temple of Karnak, a man from a poor family who picks up extra income on his days off from copying religious texts. His name is Ruyu, and he is young, barely 20, with ink-stained fingers and a quiet, patient voice. He is teaching your son to read and write the beautiful, complex hieroglyphs of Egypt, which is quite unusual for a boy of only 7. Most Egyptian children, even children of comfortable families, do not begin formal literacy training until they are 8 or 9 years old, sometimes even 10. But you and your husband are determined that Carl will be educated early, that he will have every advantage you can possibly give him. Education is the only true path upward in Egypt, the only ladder that reaches from the mud of the fields to the stone of the palaces. A literate man can become a scribe, sitting on a stool with papyrus across his knees, counting grain and measuring land. A literate man can become a priest, entering the inner sanctums of the temples, speaking to the gods. A literate man can become an administrator, a doctor, an architect, a vizier, even a pharaoh's closest advisor. But an illiterate man will be a farmer or a soldier forever, bent over a plow or standing in a battle line, with no way out, no escape, no hope of anything different. You sit in on a lesson today, settling onto a low stool in the corner of the courtyard, a small piece of sewing in your hands. You are making a tiny linen wrap for the new baby, something soft and cool against new skin. Your fingers move smoothly, automatically, while your ears listen to the tutor's calm, measured voice. Ruiu is teaching Kar the hieroglyph of life today. The Ankh, that beautiful, looping, cross-like shape with a teardrop at the top, that appears everywhere in this land, on tomb walls and temple ceilings and jewelry and amulets. It is the most important symbol in Egypt, the key to existence itself. Kar draws it 3 times on his wooden writing board, a thin layer of white plaster spread across the surface to hold the ink. His first attempt is wobbly, uncertain, the lines wavering like water. His second is better, more confident, the loops more balanced. His third is genuinely, surprisingly good for a boy so young. The tutor praises him with a quiet, genuine word of approval, a simple nefer, which means beautiful, good, perfect. Carr glows with pride, his whole small face lighting up from within, his eyes bright and shining. You pretend not to notice, looking down at your sewing, but you are watching from the corner of your eye, and your heart feels so full that you think it might break open with love. Evening comes gently, the sun lowering itself toward the western horizon, where the land of the dead lies, where the souls of the justified sail through the underworld in the bark of the sun god Ra. The sky turns gold and then orange and then a deep, bruised purple. Your husband returns home, his footsteps familiar on the packed earth of the courtyard. He has been at the docks all day, from dawn until now, supervising the unloading of the boat he sailed in on yesterday. It is a flat-bottomed Nile freighter, 20 meters long from prow to stern, made of acacia wood lashed together with ropes, full of grain and pottery and cloth from the city far up the river. He is tired, deeply tired, but happy. The trip was profitable, more profitable than he had hoped. His name is Pizarman. He is 36 years old, tall and broad-shouldered, his skin darkened by the sun, his hands calloused from ropes and oars. You married him 11 years ago, when you were both young and uncertain, your parents standing beside you, the priests chanting the words that bound you together. The marriage was arranged by your families, as most marriages are, but it has not been an unhappy one. Not at all. Your fathers have been friends since their own childhoods, and you and Pizarman had known each other your whole lives before you were ever married. He is a good man, truly good. He is honest in his business dealings, which is unusual in a world where most people cut corners where they can, where a little cheating is considered clever. He is patient with the children, which is also unusual in a time when fathers were often distant and stern. He drinks a moderate amount, never to excess, never stumbling, never cruel. He has never raised a hand to you, never shouted at you in anger. And most importantly, he defers to your judgment on all financial matters, because he knows and you know, and everyone who knows you both knows, that you are simply better at it than he is. You have a head for numbers, for negotiation, for remembering who owes what and when it is due. He has a head for the river, for the wind, for the moods of the men who sail with him. Together, you make a good pair, a strong pair, a pair that has built something lasting. You eat dinner together as the stars begin to appear, one by one, in the darkening sky. The goose, slow roasted for hours over a low fire, the skin crisp and golden, the meat falling off the bones, glazed with honey and scattered with fresh herbs. The cinnamon, that precious, expensive spice from far away, used sparingly but lovingly on a small dish of poached figs, the sweetness of the fruit mingling with the warmth of the spice in a way that makes you close your eyes with pleasure. More beer, more bread, the comfortable, easy silence of two people who know each other so well that words are not always necessary. He tells you about the journey, about the places he saw, the villages along the river, the bend at Cusi where the crocodiles are thickest, the markets at Abydos where he sold the copper and bought the grain. He tells you about the new pharaoh's loyal soldiers, stationed at the river checkpoint near Edfu, young men in clean white kilts with bright new spears. They tried to inspect his cargo 3 separate times for irregularities, for unpaid taxes, for contraband, before he finally took the hint and paid them a small bribe of 10 fresh loaves of bread to make them go away and leave him alone. You laugh together at this, a tired, knowing laugh, because this is simply the way of the world, the way it has always been, the small grease of bribery that makes the wheels of commerce turn. You tell him about Kuya and the Jesuret Red, about her textile workshop and her urgent commission and her need for the color before the end of next month. He thinks for a moment, chewing slowly, staring at the flickering lamp. Then he nods. He says yes. He thinks he can probably source it, but it will be expensive, more expensive than anything he's ever traded before, and he wants to negotiate the terms carefully, to make sure the price is right for both of them. You agree. Tomorrow, you will help him draft the agreement, writing it out in clear hieratic script on a fresh sheet of papyrus, sealing it with clay and his personal seal. Night falls completely. The darkness deep and soft and full of stars. The lamp burns low, its flame flickering in the quiet breeze from a window. You lie down beside him on the bed, your bodies fitting together in the familiar curves of 11 years of marriage. Outside in the narrow street, you can hear a neighbor's dog barking at something unseen. Perhaps a jackal will come down from the hills. Perhaps just a shadow. He puts his hand on your belly, where the new baby is moving, rolling, kicking softly in the warm, dark ocean of your womb. He smiles, a small, private smile just for the two of you. The baby kicks again, a small, insistent thump against his palm, a tiny foot or fist pressing outward. You both feel it. You both smile. For a long moment, neither of you speaks. Then you think, as you always do in these quiet moments, about the daughter you lost, the little girl with the dark hair and the curious eyes who never got to grow up, who never got to learn to walk or talk or laugh. You think about your son sleeping in the next room, his wooden writing tablet and stylus on the floor beside his bed, his small chest rising and falling in sleep. You think about this fourth child, this baby moving inside you right now, this little life whose name you have not yet chosen, whose face you have not yet seen, whom you may or may not watch grow up. You cannot know. You will never know until you know, and knowing will come too late to change anything. You whisper a prayer to Tarit, the hippopotamus goddess, the protector of mothers, the watcher over the birth stool. Pozeriman whispers one with you, his voice low and soft and close to your ear. Then he kisses your forehead, a gentle brush of his lips against your skin. Then he sleeps, his breathing deepening, evening out, becoming slow and regular and peaceful. But you lie awake for a while longer. Your eyes are closed, but your mind is still moving, still turning things over. You think about the books you need to update tomorrow, the column of numbers you need to add, the dyed red order you need to confirm, the bread that needs to be started before dawn, because the dough must rise in the cool of the early morning. You think about Hennet and her dead son, about the weight of grief that women carry silently, invisibly every single day, the way they fold up small and hide in the corner of their hearts, so they can keep going, so they can tend the fire and sweep the floor and grind the flour. You think about the cinnamon wrapped in papyrus on the kitchen shelf and the long, impossible, unimaginable journey it must have taken to get from some distant forest to your small, whitewashed house near the docks of Thebes, the ships and the camels and the silent traders who carried it across the world. Then, finally, slowly, gently, you sleep too. You sink into the darkness like falling into deep, warm, accepting water, and you dream of nothing at all. That was day 4 of 7 in ancient Egypt. My dear friend, you were the trader's wife, a woman who ran a business, kept the books with perfect accuracy, raised a curious son, mourned a lost daughter, and walked into a market without coins or cash or credit cards, and made the world move around her anyway. A pregnant woman who carried in her own body the only continuity that ever really mattered, the only chain that connects the living to the dead and the dead to the unborn. Tomorrow, on day 5, you will not be in Thebes. Tomorrow, you will wake up in a very different place, far from the green ribbon of the Nile. You will wake up in the eastern desert. 2 weeks hard march on the river, where the land is dry and brown and endless. You will be a soldier. You will be 18 years old, young and strong and afraid. You will walk 250 kilometers in 3 weeks, your feet blistered and calloused, your back strong from carrying your shield, your eyes sharp from watching for enemies behind every rock. And by midday tomorrow, before the sun reaches its highest point, you will find yourself standing in the second battle of your young life, with a spear in your hand and a prayer on your lips. Day 5 is waiting for you in the description below, or as the next video on this channel, whenever you are ready to continue the journey. If you enjoyed day 4, if you felt something shift inside you as you listened, please hit subscribe so you never miss what comes next. And drop a comment if you feel like it, and tell us which Egyptian woman's right surprised you the most. Was it the right to own land? The right to divorce? The right to stand in court as an equal? Or was it something smaller and quieter? Something like the right to simply walk through a market and conduct business without a man speaking for you? For now, my dear friend, let your breathing become even slower. Let your body grow heavier and heavier against whatever you are lying on. You are completely safe here, held in this moment, drifting like a boat on a calm river. There is nothing you need to do. There's nowhere you need to go. Just rest. Just breathe. Just be. Enjoyed the sleep story? Subscribe for more relaxing history and bedtime tales. Share your thoughts in the comments and tell me what you'd like to listen to in the next video. We're already working on the next part and we'll upload it soon. Good night and sweet dreams.